Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our men's singles final. It'll be the Netherlands v Germany. Please welcome first on stage the reigning Dutch Open and Swedish Masters champion from the Netherlands, Bionic Barry van Peer. Ladies and gentlemen, Barry's opponent from Germany, put your hands together, Frank Bruns.
Just a few minutes ago, we witnessed Bo Greaves be crowned as the World Cup champion in the ladies singles tournament at the WDF World Cup in Esbjerg here in Denmark. Now it's time to see who will be crowned the men's singles champion. And there's no doubt that Barry van Peer from Holland is on paper the big favorite for this final. However, Frank Bruns from Germany really has been a huge surprise throughout the tournament. And he is now just one game, one win away from producing one of the biggest upsets in the World Cup history. He is a player who, if I have to be honest, I didn't know anything about before this weekend. But so far he has been very impressive. But still, if we have a look at the averages throughout the tournament, then it's still a bit of a surprise that Frank has made it all the way to the final. If we have a look at his run through the men's singles tournament, then he has only once averaged above 81. That was in the quarterfinals. He has, of course, played 6 matches until now, but what we can say is that he has beaten the players in front of him. No one has yet been able to beat him, and that is something that you have got to respect. But still, I think Barry will know that he is the big favorite, and he will know that this is all about him. If Barry goes into this match and delivers somewhere near his A game, he should come out victorious. A good visit from Barry van Peer, who leaves 75. Normally players will go for the triple 17 to leave the double 12. And that is what we expect to see here. That's in, then it's double 12, now double 6. And he leaves double 3, so this might become a bit tricky if Frank Bruns doesn't take out the 130. He needs a treble, and that is not going to happen, so instead Barry van Peer with 3 darts here with 6 left. Now let's have a look. Will he go for the double 3, or will he go for the single 2 to split the score? He's going directly at the double 3. Yeah, that is kind of difficult. You can see he starts standing up, so he's blocking the target. 57. That leaves double 4. Frank Bruns can't be too happy about having had 24 darts and only 2 darts at a double. This is looking like a breaker throw, and it's not very often that you will see a 24 dart breaker throw in a World Cup singles final, but nonetheless, that is what happened, and the players won't think too much about the averages as soon as the game has finished. It's all about getting over that winning line. But yeah, as I've already mentioned, we don't know too much about Frank Bruns before this week's World Cup. We know that he did go to the PDC school back in 2020, but he didn't really have a lot of success. He played 4 days without winning a single match, and in all of the 4 matches he averaged between 65 and 76. So to see him go all the way to the final this week is of course a big surprise, but also to see his performances along the way, then it becomes quite clear that even though he is playing with a tournament average of 78, he has obviously improved his game throughout the last couple of years since he participated at the PDCQ school. So let's see if he can continue surprising. So far it's all going according to plan for Barry van Peer, who hits double 18 on his first dart. That's a very good 13 dart leg. And also a very good start to the leg here from Frank Bruns. Should Barry van Peer go on and win this tournament, then he will be the first Dutchman to win the WDF singles title since 2013. Back then, Wesley Harms won the singles title in Canada. He will also be the 4th Dutchman to win the men's singles title. Of course, Raymond van Barneveld won the title back in 2003. Then just 2 years later in Australia, it was Dick van Dijk who beat Danish Per Larsen in the final. Frank has good time on his side. Oh, well, I'll take that back. A brilliant 180 from Barry van Peer that puts pressure on this 50 finish for Frank Bruns, who starts off by hitting a single 6. Obviously not what he intended to do, but it doesn't matter. He reduces the gap so that Barry van Peer is now in front 2-1. Kind of a weird start to this match. Both players finding it really hard to find consistency so far. And while it's a surprise that Frank Bruns has made it to the final, it isn't really a surprise to see Barry van Peer go all the way. I mean, there has been so many great players in this tournament who were all candidates for the title, and I could start to list some of them. I will probably have missed out on some of them. That is one of the most beautiful 180s I've ever seen, all pinched together. But players like Wesley Plaisir, Ben Robb, Hao Pai Puha, Raymond Smith is a player who I had great expectations for. He was actually my favorite for the tournament. Oh, let's just follow this one. Another player who would of course have been a candidate for the title is Scott Mitchell of England and Helle Klaassen from Holland. There's so many great players, but Barry van Peer has proven throughout the year that he is one of the most informed players on the WDF circuit in 2023. Winning both the Dutch Open and the Swedish Open, but also proving himself in the PDC, where he has won 4 Challenge Tour titles and played some really good stuff when he has been on the Players Championship Tour. But right now it's all about this final in the WDF World Cup. It really is incredible to look down the list of former champions in the World Cup throughout the years. A great list of names. So if we only look at the men's competition, then legends of the game like Leighton Rees, John Lowe, Eric Bristow, of course, Martin Adams, Raymond van Barneveld, have won the tournament before. So to be able to add your own name to that list, that must be a huge honor and achievement. Bit of a sloppy dart there from Frank Bruns. He should really have left himself on 40, but no real pressure from Barry here. So now he will go for the single 15 for double top. Now double 10. He doesn't look too satisfied, Barry, so far, despite being 3-1 up, and I fully understand why he hasn't been able to to find that consistency. And here's a player who expects a lot from himself, and he loves to put on a show for the audience. Well done there by Frank Bruns, who keeps himself in the match. Still a long way to go for both players, of course. First to 7 legs. And this is a long format game. There are many players who participate at the World Cup who would never even have been playing in such a long game before. I imagine that Barry will have experienced these long games on other occasions, but a player like Frank, this will be totally new to him. One thing is to do it at your local darts club or at a local competition, but you can't underestimate the difference between playing in these short format games like best of 5, best of 7. There is a big difference to be able to keep your concentration and keep that consistency for a long game, and especially after having played throughout such a long week. We will, by the way, have the pleasure of watching Barry van Peer up on the stage later tonight when the men's team events final is held as the last final of the night. After this one, of course, it's the ladies team final, and then it's the men. Barry and the Dutch team will be playing against England. In the women's department, it will be Wales against Ireland, so 2 great matches to look forward to. Double 14 for Barry van Peer, and he makes it 4-2 with Frank Bruns. He was probably thinking, just give me a chance on the 118, but that didn't happen. I must say I have been very impressed by Frank when he has been playing up on the stage these last few days. Yesterday he played against Markus Straub from Austria in the quarters, and that will of course have been the biggest game of his career, playing in front of a big audience and the TV cameras, but he played a really good match with an 86 average, beating the Austrian 5-2. And then earlier today he beat Robbie Mills from Canada, another player who I have been so impressed by throughout the week. I'm very excited to whether or not we will see Robbie Mills be playing some more competitions in the future. That it would be a bit of a shame if we wouldn't, I think, because he has really proven how great a player he is throughout the week. So for Frank Bruns to beat a player like Robbie Mills, that just proves that you can't underestimate the German. He is a very dangerous player himself. He may not have the A game of some of the other top players at this event, but he doesn't seem to let himself be under pressure, even though he's playing on a big stage like this. Now treble 17 for the German. Oh, That leaves 18. I don't think he meant to do that. Well, perhaps he did. And we see the face from Barry. I'm not sure if that was a reaction to that unorthodox way of taking out 75 by Frank, or if he's just kind of frustrated about his own game right now. As you can see, Barry is taking his time. He is a player who has struggled with dartitis earlier in his career, and it's no secret that he has had to deal with that. And I believe I heard him in an interview saying that that is also part of the reason why he sometimes has this kind of routine before throwing. But it's so impressive to see a player like Barry, who was a great talent even as a youth player. I remember following him throughout his youth days. For instance, he won the Denmark Open in Denmark as a youth player in the youth competition all the way back in 2014, and a few years later he qualified for the PDC Grand Slam of darts, where his dartitis really came to life in front of the cameras and in front of the crowd, and no one liked to watch that. That was very tough, but especially for him, of course. But to have turned his career around in the manner that he has, that is a testament to him as a player and also as a person. I'm very impressed by him. Other players who have been dealing with dartitis but come back even stronger. Even stronger are, for instance, Bo Greaves, who we saw just about half an hour ago, winning the ladies singles championship. Another one is fellow Dutchman Jan van Veen. Now in a really good position here, Barry van Peer on double top to make it 5-3. As we have seen so many times before, Barry just taking his time, which proves to be a wise decision. 5-3, and so far the players are averaging 87 for Barry and 82 for Frank. So really a good match so far. Both players playing to a decent standard. If we look at the tournament averages across the singles championship and the pairs event as well, why not start with a 170, Barry? Throughout the tournament, Barry has played with an overall average of almost 93, which is, of course, one of the better averages if we look down the overall average list. He is such a good player, Barry, and as soon he's one of these players, as soon as he gets that first dart into the top of the segment he's throwing at, then you just expect him to follow. Just like that one. Then you expect him to follow it up. A bit unlucky on the third dart. It seemed like it hit the flight of one of the previous darts. But still in a very good position. to break the throw. In this leg alone, he has stolen the throw, as they say. Now 2 trebles. One more will leave double 16. Instead he leaves 56. And will expect to come back unless Frank hits 2 treble 20s and a double. $16 for double 20 and to make it 6-3 overall. Especially in the last few legs, he has been extremely efficient on the doubles, Barry. But still doesn't look too satisfied. It would be interesting to hear him talk after the match. I'm very curious about what's going through his mind right now. Why he is showing these emotions, because you would think that he would be happy just to be in front 6-3 in a World Cup final, but still he seems a bit unsatisfied. As I mentioned earlier in the match, Barry has also been a player that did really well as a youth player, being a big part of the Dutch national team in the WDF system for a number of years. But just because you prove yourself as a youth player, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will make it as a senior player. We have seen some big talents throughout the years, especially on the Holland national team, who didn't make it as senior players, not until now at least. We may wait and see. I think, of course, of players like Justin van der Rau, who is still playing, but hasn't totally lived up to the expectations. Another player I can think of is the brother of Owen Roelofs, Colin Roelofs, who was a brilliant youth player, but decided to step away from the game. I also remember Quinn Wester, who was a brilliant player as a national team player for the Dutch side. And now it seems certain that Barry van Peer in this leg will be crowned as the WDF World Cup singles champion. He has left 52 after 15 darts. Frank Bruns has played a very decent match and a very good tournament, but we expect it to be over very, very soon. Barry van Peer obviously not satisfied with something. Walks back. 52 left. There's options here. He could go for a single 20 or a single 12. It's double 16 for the match. And there it is. Barry van Peer is the WDF World Cup Singles Men's Champion 2023. He follows in the footsteps of his countrymen Raymond van Barneveld, Dick van Dijk and Wesley Harms. And also into the history books, like players such as Leighton Rees, John Lowe, Eric Bristow, Martin Adams. The list goes on and on. So many legends of the game has won this title, and you can see the fantastic emotions from Barry van Peer. A well-deserved victory after a brilliant season where he has won some of the biggest titles that the WDF has to offer. And after a very, very good display in the final, he is now crowned the WDF World Cup singles men's champion. What a performance by the Dutchman. We will, of course, see him back on the stage again. First, we will have the presentations for the medalists in the men's competition, and after that we will have the finals in the teams event, where we will see Barry and his Dutch teammates in the last final. So for now, let's give the microphone to the WDF MC so that we can get the presentation going, and then we will be back with 2 more finals in the teams competition.